So I've come to the unsettling conclusion. The reason why we're all poor at the moment and the global economy is plagued with inflationary pressures is all down to something that was imagined into existence and didn't actually happen. So firstly, have costs outstripped wages. It certainly looks that way looking at the last 3 years worth of data. It's also worth noting that Consumer Price Index, the measure that the Bank of England uses to set interest rates, doesn't include mortgage costs. However, if you look over a longer time period, we can see the picture isn't quite as clear. Lies, damn lies and statistics. Consumer Price Index is calculated based on the current rate of inflation for a range of selected goods and services and multiplying these by a weighting. This provides a single measure of year-on-year inflation. The Bank of England tracks this measure and uses interest rates to try and keep it below 2%. Prices have gone up so much in recent years because of the price rises in natural gas. Natural gas is used to heat homes, generate electricity, and various commercial uses, translated into costs that get passed on to the customer. Looking in more detail at the component parts of CPI, there's an obvious correlation between housing costs and natural gas, which makes complete sense given that the large majority of the housing costs are electricity and gas. Interesting aside, in doing the research I did find this website which shows the costs of electricity generation in different locations around the world. No idea why they're different. Closer to home, it's slightly difficult to understand why the UK and Ireland have different rates for electricity, again, for another time. We can also see a clear link between food and natural gas prices. According to lobbyists for the oil and gas sector, the agricultural industry is entirely reliant on natural gas. Clothing and footwear is often made from crops using fertilizers, and the electricity to power the factories is often supplied from gas sources. The brewing industry uses natural gas both in the fertilizers for the crops that supply the sector and directly for brewing and to power the equipment via electricity. Other sectors look to have had a bit of a delayed inflationary pulse, and presumably is down to secondary impacts such as wages. Unsurprisingly, the transport sector does not show a close fit to natural gas prices. So we can see multiple sectors that make up CPI being impacted either directly or indirectly. So the question is, why did natural gas prices go up so much? So this doesn't seem to be very contentious at all. There seems to be a broad consensus that gas prices increased initially because there was a fear that there wouldn't be enough capacity as lockdowns were eased. And this was further confounded as a result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And a multitude of other smaller factors all contributing to a general sense of supply shortage. The extreme volatility in natural gas prices indicates a lot of uncertainty around future outcomes. All natural gas markets globally experienced an increase in prices during this period. Europe was particularly badly hit. If you're with me so far, well done. This is the bit where it gets interesting. The first thing to look at is all the infrastructure involved in supplying natural gas. There's over 1 million miles of pipeline and 360 LNG facilities globally. Europe is in the process of building 5 LNG import terminals and China 27. It's interesting to note where future projects are planned, particularly around Africa. So there's a massive flow between countries via pipelines and LNG tankers. And there's also a large number of global gas storage facilities. So did production actually get impacted? What we see in the data at the macro level is broadly flat production from 2021 to 2023. We can see that Russia's share of total production has gone down and North America has gone up. Okay, so production was flat. Well, what happened to demand? Between 2021 and 2023, production exceeded demand, and demand was actually slightly declining or flat. What we can see is an increase in the amount of gas that's gone into storage. So is this why the price has gone up so much? Well, a quick and dirty look at the numbers says no, it's not, even though that is not a small amount. It's small in comparison to the total size of the economy. So maybe the increased cost came from reorganising the supply chains to accommodate the changing gas flows from Russia. Total capex figures for the sector, they can't break it out by gas only, but they don't suggest that there's been a large abnormal increase in capex activity post-lockdown or during the Ukraine conflict. There has been no appreciable increase in the number of wells being drilled. So the question is, does gas price actually reflect input costs at all? Using US gas futures as an example, we can see the price fluctuates significantly during the course of the year. However, if we look at the operating costs for a typical facility, we don't see the same picture at all. Gas prices fluctuate up to 40% during the year. Operating costs barely move. How the gas market appears to operate is akin to McDonald's charging higher prices for meals at lunchtimes. So let me be absolutely clear about this. There is no link between fluctuating gas prices and cost of production. There is enough gas for everybody's requirements. So what's actually getting traded and why the price is so volatile? There seems to be a large number of presumably complex derivative type products that make up the natural gas markets. Future gas contracts are used for hedging purposes and by traders. There appear to be no constraints on price fluctuations. This means that the price can go up as much as the market thinks it should go up. As we have seen, what the market thinks and reality are two different things. So how much does this imaginary cost hit the UK economy? If we look at the change between the average price 2015 to 20 and the prices during 21-22 and use that as a basis for calculating the additional costs that were incurred during that period, we can see that the total net impact to the GDP of UK is in the order of 70 billion, which works out as about 1.5% of GDP. I haven't even bothered to try and calculate the total impact. It's got to be in the trillions, but if you look at this picture, you can see the inflation by country over time and clear trend on the right hand side of the picture. So in summary, we're all feeling poorer because mortgage rates have gone up, because interest rates went up, because inflation went up, because the cost of goods and services went up, because natural gas went up, and because a relatively small group of people thought there were going to be supply restrictions significantly worse than there actually were.